Hey guys, this is Orlando with Filmatic,
And Stixx.
and we're here to just go over a couple other things like we had said before that we're trying to get together and just talk about more topics and give commentary to different things that have happened. So, one thing that we just had we literally just had a workshop, and a lot of people got to see some of the videos that we've done on our YouTube. And as you see on our YouTube, we like making fun of wedding videography or cinematography, and it's because it comes from a very a lot of people that came from that industry. They look back at it as something that's bad, and I just want to be very clear. I came from the wedding industry in terms of that was like one of the first industries I moved into, and that I invested a lot of money and started building a small company. How about you? Did you start in that at all, or no?
No, I never started in the wedding industry. I think pretty much every wedding I had was kind of like through someone.
Okay.
I maybe had like one or two on my own.
Okay, well there you go. And I remember starting off with that, and I always tell people that that's the easiest entry point to jumping into a business. And why? Because everyone gets married. Like, it's just one of those things that, and they don't just get married once, if you know what I mean. It happens several times to some people. And so if you know how to run the specials, and you know how to do half off for the next one and all that kind of stuff,
Half off.
it works well, for your business. There's a lot of caveats. One, it's really hard to. I felt that the lower tier, weddings are the hardest to manage and maintain, because a lot of those people that don't have a lot of money, when they do save up a lot for their wedding, they expect the best for the minimum, and that's it's really hard to deal with those people. And I felt the higher end we got, the higher end weddings that we got, the more lenient and more creativity they would allow us to do, which I thought was great. But anyone that's starting, I think that's a great point. So I just want to also explain why we kind of, or at least I make fun of weddings quite a bit. So first off, how about you? Have or I don't know if you just want to guide me or ask any questions based on what we've currently done.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I've never indulged in them to a point where I can have a bunch of experience, but I have. But for me, it's like, what wedding made you got into weddings? Is it the price that you were able to receive, and charge, or did it become more of a it's just easy jobs to catch?
Well, on my end, so I think it was just easy to get the work, right? Because I felt that starting off, I was good enough to be able to start charging a good premium for it. And at the beginning, I really was charging, maybe, I think the very first wedding I had, I charged $1,200 for.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, that was probably one of the bigger videos I had done at the time. And also what was cool about that particular video was that it was like a music video. So, and we can post a little bit of that without the music.
There was a music video wedding?
Yeah, so it was like a highlight video for $1,200,
cool.
and they only wanted like a 3-minute video.
That's pretty
as
cool.
long as the song ran, that's what they wanted. So I was like, yeah, I mean, it's cool, and as long as people like that kind of style, then I'm down. But I started realizing that other people wanted different things, and we started adding packages. But we went from charging $1,200. I think we ran this for three or 4 years, and within that time, we went from charging $1,200 per wedding all the way up to charging about $8,000 per wedding.
Dang.
Which was, for a 4-year growth, and having, I think the first year we had, maybe 12 weddings. Second year we had 24. There was one year that we had 30 weddings.
Dang.
So it just kept adding, and it allowed us to keep growing the business at that time. I also met some vendors and other people that you build relationships with, and they get you a lot of work as well.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So this is the one. So for everybody, the wedding jokes, they hear them from everybody.
Yeah, from everyone. Yeah.
What makes those jokes relevant? What experiences in weddings gave you that relevancy? This is a horrible industry sometimes.
I think it's because when you always think back in the day, of the wedding videographer, at least when we were growing up, in the Latino community, you always thought of the one dude with the big freaking camera that was walking around, and he was usually just filming all the good looking girls, you know?
Yeah.
So there was like this always creep factor that was kind of connected to it in one sense. So it was always like, hey, the wedding videographer, you know, it was just always like a weird thing with that. And I remember that like more in the Latino community as we were growing up, that it was always like that. And then from there, it went to like, when I started messing with the film industry, I realized that a lot of people just like would talk smack about the weddings, like just the wedding in general. And that was because at that point, wedding cinematography, which is kind of funny to even call it like that, but that stuff hadn't emerged yet, you know? The DSLRs, once the DSLR revolution came out, that made people start shooting on sliders and the GlideCam 2000 and you know, all those different things where things started having movement, and then people started adding stories, and then, you know, all that came from it. But a lot of people look at that as something that's very cookie cutter or very like you know, it's just kind of bland or boring, you know. And I've seen some really dope stuff. I have a really good friend of mine that does really, really good work, but even the most beautiful work that they have done, I mean, some of them have told me that it's mundane to them too. No matter if they just flew to France or anywhere, it's like everyone still kind of feels like I'm just shooting a wedding, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's one of those things, like not many people get into weddings saying, "Hey, this is what I want to do," but they fall in there because the value is there, you know, and
the money's good, it's consistent.
You can build a company off of it,
Right.
you know. No, I mean, I could only say I think I got kicked out of the business and didn't reach for it anymore because my first wedding went horrible. It wasn't my wedding.
What
I
happened?
was a part of it. And like we're literally the whole day, like it was one of my close homies set up the job. The whole day we had a plan. We went by the plan, but there was never money paid for the plan.
Oh.
So as we got like to the reception, the end of the night, and this was like a 10-hour day, I walk with him. We walk up to the dad and like, hey, we want to make sure we get the last payment because the mom had been running away from us the whole day.
Oh, wow.
And the dad's just like, nope, just take it up with my lawyer. And like I'm saying, like this was a pretty big wedding. Like they had money, so it was no way we were going against his lawyer. And like that was just it.
So did y'all turn anything in for him?
No, like we still like we held the footage for about a couple months, and then like we knew it was going nowhere, and we finally just deleted the footage. But that was my first. I would say that was my first real wedding experience of shooting, and like from there,
you already like
yeah.
No, man, did you know, just recently there's a guy that came out on you know, that a lot of people were talking about, the photographer that was shooting for his friend. This guy didn't really do much. Like he did mainly like pet photos. He just did photos that wasn't really relevant to
the wedding.
To the wedding, yeah. So, but his friends asked him to do it, so he was taking pictures for his friend, and he then this dude like. He was gonna eat, and they told him that he couldn't eat. His own friends told him that he couldn't eat. That fool deleted the wedding photos right in front of him.
Damn.
And he was like, "All right, see y'all later." So, yeah, and there's a link. We'll put a link to that for sure, because it was just like one of those funny things that a lot of people were talking about at the time. And I've had many situations where we had like planners like try to sabotage us, make us look like the bad ones, even when they were the ones doing like the shady stuff. We had, I had some vendors like totally try to like mess us up, putting up lights, DJs putting up lights when they weren't supposed to. DJs blasting music or purposely messing up our sound. We've had, we would have photographers try to sabotage some of our stuff.
That's the hard part, because you're dealing with so many components
That's
that
right.
day, and nothing can be repeated, you know?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is like you can't repeat them, so you have to get it right. I mean, we had some clients that didn't, like, we shot with them, they saw it, and they just never replied to us ever again. Like, it's crazy how, you know, we've, you know, and some of the worst things that we actually had one wedding. I learned a lot of lessons through the wedding company, but we had this one time where I was investing in like doing like one of those NAS systems where we can store all the footage. Mm-hmm. I would recommend, if you are providing a service of keeping your clients' files online or saved for them, like immediately in that part of your business, because it's not worth it if you do lose the footage. And that happened to us. We lost 4 terabytes of weddings, and some of them weren't even edited yet.
At that time, that's like now
Yeah.
you got to make it relevant. How long ago was that? Because 4 terabytes now is easy.
That
with
was
cinema cameras.
2013, 2014.
So you might shoot a wedding with what, 32, 64 gigs, maybe something like that. It can't be crazy.
Maybe the whole thing was like 300 gigs in total, because it was like 4 or 5 cameras, you know.
So that's a bunch of weddings.
It was a ton of weddings, yeah. And at that time, we were only charging like, $1,300, $1,500 a wedding. And in my contract, I had that if I lose your footage, the most that I can do immediately is give you back your money. But man, I think we spent like 14 grand trying to get back all the footage. Dude, even though we did all that, we got back footage, got to edit all that. We had 99.9% recovery. Those people still gave us horrible reviews. And it was like, it was one of those things that people, like, they act one way, but then because you are a service, they will get mad. And I completely understand from their point.
And that go back to the friend, like, even, like, you got to understand that, like, even me, I have this rule. I really don't work with friends as much, and I don't work with family. Because at the end of the day, when you become a service and a business, at some point, someone's going to fall back at the service, or they're going to fall back to the business side of it. Like, no matter how the friendship is, either you're going to have to do it or they're going to have to do it, and it never ends.
Yeah, it never works. Yeah, and then the other things that I saw during weddings, like and I'm not trying to say once again, weddings are like, when we were able to get them and structure them right, we had like 4 or 5 people on our team. We're paying everyone like $1,000 to be there. We're using some really high end, somewhat high end at the time, cameras. Doing glide cam. The Movia just came out. We had so many cool toys, and we had some really good shooters. But just a bunch of other stuff happened that made me have to give up the business just altogether. But other things I saw in the industry, man, I didn't meet a photographer or another videographer or other companies that, like, their homes like didn't get destroyed just from the industry, because I saw so much like just shady stuff. I mean, it's literally people getting drunk and people partying all night, and it was just one of those things where, like, I didn't like the environment. I mean, that's not what I do. I'm not the guy that goes and hangs out at a bar and drinks all day, like, I just don't do that. I'd rather just hang out at home, make some carne asada, just hang out and go to sleep or do whatever. But
so you rather be what about this one? Would you be a wedding cinematographer, or, because it sounds almost the same, a club cinematographer?
No. Events in general are just like,
But you like, when you put it in perspective, a wedding is just a big event, party, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah, and then the people try to make like this story that, and it's very easy. Person A met person B, and then I'm going to say a little bit about that. I'm going to get homeboy, or person A to person B. I'm going to get them to write a letter to each other. I'm going to record them reading it and then writing it, and then we cut that together, and then we get the dad, and then we have the dad meet the girl or meet the man or whatever, and then we merge all that together, and then we use like the best 3 or 4 moments of the.
There go your formula.
So it's like that's the whole formula for every single wedding.
For anybody that doesn't have a formula right now, there go your formula.
Even if you get the vows and put them at the beginning or the end or whatever, it's all the same formula. It's like you can pretty much do that and then just drop them however you want. So is there art to it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't do it again. So you have to get it right. You have to know how to shoot right, how to shoot fast, how to deal with natural light or deal with the practical lights. But ultimately, like, to me, it just got boring too. It just kind of got boring, and there's only so much love that you can do.
The craziest thing I just noticed, we haven't made a video. So if y'all haven't seen, we do like YouTube skits and stuff on filmmaking, but we haven't did a wedding one.
Nah, bro.
We haven't did a wedding one.
Maybe we should do one. I mean, we just do it making fun of them. But yeah. So I'm not telling you not to go into the wedding industry. Actually, I recommend this quite a bit. Like I said before, because it's something that you can grow in right away. I just say have an exit plan. Don't name it after yourself. I think there's a ton of people currently in the industry who have had a hard time moving into something else because they have a blah blah wedding company, you know, their name wedding company, and then they get kind of like pigeonholed into this whole thing that they're just wedding videographers. And once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just a like when you're trying to move into something different, it sometimes has this anchor that you don't need, and maybe some people like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
mean, sounds cool to me. I mean, anything else you have on it? Recommendations? Anything for people getting started?
I think the last thing I'll do is one of my nightmare weddings, and I do remember this pretty clearly because it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. That I knew that this is like I'm done, you know. And I think the last thing that happened to me was there's one day that was raining really bad. I know it was like in October or something in Houston, and we were gonna film. We had to shoot a wedding that was actually in someone's backyards in like a really nice neighborhood. And I didn't know that they had a pool in the backyard, and it was raining hard. Most people of that class would put plexiglass or some kind of platform over the pool so that people can, you know, use it as like the dance floor, and it looks cool because, you know, you have the water like kind of under it, and it's kind of see-through. It's just a cool type of thing that they do. But these people didn't do that, so the pool took up about 70% of the real estate.
Oh dang!
Of the party, and it was pouring, so you had water in the middle, and then water rushing in through all sides. Well, I noticed that some of the DJ equipment that was all laid out was submerged in water, and it was on. And I went and talked to the lady, and you know, I was like, hey, you know, I think you might want to call the DJ company or whoever and tell them like, hey, there's an issue. Like, we need to turn all this stuff off, and we need to like move it, you know, because worst case scenario, someone might die, you know, from just being shocked.
Yeah.
I don't think she liked when I told her that because she wasn't happy, you know. And of course, I wouldn't be happy either. It was raining. It's like my son's wedding, and you know, it's just like everything's happening is bad, and then you're being told that people could die at your wedding. You know, so I was just like, you know, I kind of felt bad, but you know, someone has to say something, right? So then in my contracts, I had that we get to eat first because we usually eat for 15 minutes, and that's it. Well, when I went to go grab a plate, this lady calls me out in front of everybody. Once again, the space is like, it's already taken up more by a pool, so everyone can hear her there.
Yeah.
And she's like, she just comes to me and she's like, oh, I see. Like, you don't want to pull the wires or do this and that, but you can be the first person in line to eat. Normally, they put the plates like in the vendor room, and then we go and we eat there, you know, so they don't see us getting food. But the way that they had it set, they didn't have any of that set up there because it was so tight. So we're like, okay, let me get food real quick and move on. Man, it was so embarrassing, man. And I told the lady, I said, you know what? Read your contract. I'm bouncing. And I left. And they never came back after me. I mean, some other people stayed there and finished it, but I took off. I was like, I don't have to be here. So I took off, and the lady tried to apologize, but I knew it was mean. But, dude, that was one of the worst experiences. I'm like, man, I wasn't going to be there embarrassed like that. Like,
Did you ever have to delete anybody's wedding? Or kind of like hold it hostage or anything?
I mean, I did it for some people. I never held anything hostages. We had a pretty good contract, and most people paid it. But there are some people that I knew that I felt bad for just because I knew like their situations and stuff. But that was about it. Like, it wasn't anything like that. I mean, I would have given people their footage because it's their day. You know, if they really wanted, if they couldn't afford it or whatever, then I would have just been like, I already paid everything out, paid everyone out. Like, we're just moving on. But no, yeah, they try to screw me from the beginning. There's people that would be so like adamant about like not being able to pay, but then like all of a sudden, like we had a 3-month wait for you to get your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone would be done, they're like, hey, can we get it in 2 weeks? I'm like, did you read your contract? I'm like, only if you pay like a premium, like, you know, an extra couple grand, can we put it in front, because I'm going to have to hire somebody else to come in,
take care of it.
just to take care of the edit. And they're like, oh no, it's already too expensive. And I was like, read your contract. Like, that's, you know.
Solid contracts, important.
I had one person tell me like, my father died, and because you took too long to do the wedding, like to do the wedding video, like he never got to see it. And I was like, first off, aren't you happy that he attended your wedding? Second, how am I supposed to know he was gonna die? You know what I'm saying? I was like, dude, I feel bad about that. I'm like, but how is that my fault? You know what I'm saying?
Tell you, people play you for the business all the time.
All
Just
the time, man.
come on now,
But yeah,
man.
if you're in the wedding business, good luck. Good luck. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us and know where we came from. My heart isn't in that. Like I can't lie to you.
I tell you, my best wedding.
Go for it. Tell me your best wedding.
The one I didn't have to shoot, I was in it, and I'm looking at the guy shooting it the whole time, and I'm just like,
you were in it, and that was your best wedding.
Dang, bro, why you gotta shoot that, bro? And I hired him out, but that's my boy. He didn't mind. He loved it. We made it easy for him. He didn't have to do too much. But like when I stood on the other side and I look, I'm like, dang, it's the best wedding I ever shot.
That's funny. Yeah, my wedding was like that too. Like I just hired some homies and said, hey, can y'all please like just film it, and one day we'll finish editing that video. All right.
Dang.
Okay, so yeah, let's move on. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll be talking soon. And if you guys have any other ideas or would like to see anything in general, we're getting together to do some more parodies and some more stuff. We've seen that's, you know, if y'all can like and share and subscribe and all that, like, you know, we don't take ourselves seriously, but we do fun and cool stuff, and we love sharing that. So, you know, be looking out for that. And you know, whenever you can, also follow Stixx Vision. And we appreciate you guys, and we'll be talking. See y'all later.
See y'all. Peace.
Happy shooting.